We're live. Oh, all right. Hi, folks. Just going to be me for a little bit here. My wife had some unexpected issues right before the stream. I'm wearing my old work jacket. Hope you don't mind. I don't represent them in any way anymore. Not that they ever treated me too well, so, maybe I should say I do represent them and say a lot of ridiculous shit. Anyway, welcome to the Grizzly gaming stream. We're going to have a lot of fun today. I don't know if anyone's still here or not. I saw someone pop in. They might have popped out. Yow! It has been a crazy week here for the Grizzly household. Wild. We're etching ever so closer to the big move. Moving all the way back west, like 2,000 miles. I don't know how many miles it actually is. I should probably look it up. For some reason, the cupboard's open behind me, but you can notice we finally dealt with all the crap on our counter. It's been one of those days. But we're going to have a fun little stream for everyone who's here. I better share links and do all the things, as they say. And we are live. So we're going to do kind of a mix this time around. I'm going to do a little bit. Sorry, I'm distracted sharing links. Links. Man, I got to get better at the whole YouTube spreading the word thing. I got into this as kind of a writer. And I had this strange thought that I would, be writing as a writer. But apparently, what I should have been doing was just learning online analytics. You can be a mediocre writer, but if you're good at the marketing side of the internet, you'll make more money than a really good one who just concentrated on learning to write. Not that I'm doing it for the money, but it'd be nice to have some. Spread the word some. It'd also help if I got some novels actually out, right? That would help. But this is the gaming stream. We don't want to get too distracted in the weeds. Today we'll do a little bit of theory crafting, and then we'll do a little bit of culture war and why it's important to not secede the gaming space, if you will, to the loco people. Everyone wave hi at the wife going through drama. All right. And we are live. All right. So, I'm going to talk a little bit of Foxhole to start out with. One of my favorite things. Ironically, I'm playing more Rivals than... Where did everything... The epic struggle of a couple, a family getting ready to move. Suddenly, you just don't know where anything is anymore. It's terrible. My wife's abusing herself in the corner as she looks for all the stuff she's already packed. Anyway, so what's fun to talk about these games too is because I have game dev in my prospective future, and I want to think about all the things that the games that I play now do, so I have a concept of what I want to try later as I go. So in this case, Foxhole, if you don't know what it is, I always feel like I have to just collapsing crap. But what are you looking for? Do you need that? Did you turn deaf?
I'm not saying you're not true.
I didn't think you needed those right now.
What just happened?
You could just be an adult and control it.
I think it's all in the car.
We'll let you guys use your imaginations of what she's talking about right now.
They probably think I'm on my period.
Yeah, you probably. Well, now they think that for sure, but now they're even more confused. So, Man. So what? Just all these noises. When you get into game design too, you got to also be thinking about what type of game you want to make. And I am fascinated, though I won't be trying to make one by myself. And what are you doing? You're so distracting. I'm 5 minutes in and I haven't gotten to the point. Well, I mean, anyway, I feel like I say it every time. Foxhole. It's a massive multiplayer game. It's kind of like if you played those old Battlefield games, but you added like the logistics that you have to go through in a city builder. A little bit of production, like it's a mixture of Factorio, top-down shooting, resource gathering, strategy, and like Battlefield back in the day. On a really big map between lots of players, like thousands of players. Now, that is a really cool concept, and it works, but with difficulty. And it has fairly kept about 10,000 players for most of its existence, which is pretty good. It has its ups and downs. It has this really big ups during an update, and it does all these free updates and whatnot. But there is what I find a longevity problem. Like there's clans in the game called regiments, right? And this is really important because to get anything done in this game, you need lots of people doing it at the same time. So your big clans, if you don't have big clans operating and doing stuff, the front lines never shift, and you can have a war go on, so like a round, if you will, for literally months. It's a war gaming to the extreme kind of thing. And I mean, it could still go on for months, but you don't get major pushes across the map without lots of organization. And there's really nothing besides the fact that you can have a little icon and a regiment in the game and a little thing on your gamer tag saying you're part of that regiment. There's nothing within the game for regiments. Like you can have your regiment chat, I think, but like everything's third party. They don't have anything. There's no like clan bases. I mean, there are, right? You build the base, you can claim it, but there's nothing that sets them apart. They're not like you have a clan hall where you can hang out before you go out and do a raid or something. That makes sense, right? There's no like clan emblems. People make them, but you just use them in your Discord server and stuff. And I propose that this is something that really should change because there's already like really thick regiment culture going on, if that makes any funny sense. I know that kind of seems to come out strange, but like for example, the regiment that I like to play with every now and then refers to themselves as the acronym SCUM. And it's hilarious because they're like deeply hated by factions on the other side. And it's it's one of those infamous enjoy the fact that they hate you kind of things. I remember sometimes just in a separate fight with another scum guy, and then we get specifically targeted by the other side because of our name tags. Good times. They were doing naughty things to our bodies. It was horrible. It's not that kind of game. It was teabagging. Don't worry, I murdered them later. It was fun.
I need to keep going for just painting them down with
But point is, because Foxhole is a continuous, massive multiplayer experience, and it really requires large, organized groups of players and clans to function, I think it would actually serve them well after they do a couple of these big updates to do a big regiment update. And I was trying to think of ways that you could give regiments within the game solid things for them to work for that can carry over between wars without having a Tumblr effect, a slippery slope, a downward spiral of the rich getting richer, if that makes any sense. A big part of this game is I want to call it fairness, even though there's always these funny arguments about balance and this is unbalanced and this is stupid and that's that. This most of it's pretty balanced at the end. There are little moments where one faction will have an advantage over the other. You know, it's what you have when it's an asymmetrical fight, right? Both sides aren't mirrored. Different tanks on different sides, different vehicles, different weapons, that kind of stuff. They're good at different stuff, blah, blah, blah. The current kind of system, the way it's set up, is generally the colonials have an advantage in the beginning with their early gear, and then the wardens seem to have an advantage kind of mid-game once light tanks and tanks start coming in, and then they kind of get parity in the late game. With, you know, just depends. In the end, faction... I don't know why I looked at you that way. In the end, it's pretty even, though. It really is. It just sometimes one patch might have little things, but usually it's whichever faction has a certain amount of higher pop. What are you going to do? Not all the time, but usually the one with the larger population who waits out the other one in the long, grueling war wins. So to have big clans be able to bring some kind of advantage into those fights would make it kind of ruin a lot of the game design there. Maybe. But, you know, I want to explore the concept. This is important because if you're looking at it from the game design perspective, you want these... you want and especially in a game like this that requires all these organized groups of players to function. Like, it's not like... Oh, I'll stress you out. It's not... Okay. Because this isn't like your standard MMO, take something like Warcraft or whatever, that would still function without large groups of players working together. Without the large groups of players, the game really slows down into a slog. Like, you need the big organizations to make the big pushes or the big defenses or the big logistic moves. And you can really see this because there's every now and then they'll have two servers, two shards. One of them will be Charlie, one of them will be Alpha, and all the longtime players will flock to Alpha because they want to have one war that counts. And then you can see all the new players doing Charlie, and it's like the logistics are a nightmare. Things don't get done. They get stuck on one line for months. And usually the devs have to go in and move things along. So giving these long-term players something to go for without ruining the game design and something to shoot for between wars. Like, this is another thing. If you think of these wars as really, 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 really long Battlefield rounds or Call of Duty rounds, well, there's nothing in between to upgrade for, if that makes sense. Like, everything has to be made by the players and all the rest, but there's no, like, game attachments to unlock or pretty, I don't know, cosmetics or anything to unlock as a character, if that makes sense.
Bed.
Children. And so there's nothing for the individual player really to go for. There are ranks, but the only way you get ranks is you get upvotes from other players for doing something called commends, right? My very shiny head, huh? So I think the devs should look into various ways. Oh gosh, you shouldn't have done that.
Why?
Look at my head. Look, we're disappearing into the sunlight.
Sorry.
Are you better? Haha, I fix it. Bald men problems.
Okay, Baldy.
Hey, I already got married. I'm good. That was a real smile too. It wasn't like, oh, it was like, I have this bald dude next to me. You're insane, but I like it. So
I remember you there.
she did. She had to go quite a long ways back to be around for that, by the way. Oh man, premature balding sucks. I
I think
blame
it's stress too.
I blame the I blame the modern food industry. So I'm gonna assume that those
It
three
surely did
people
not
that keep
preserve your hair.
there were preservatives in it, but it wasn't for my hair. You know, I'm gonna assume there's 3 people watching because it's like a text up to 2, 3, and then 0, then 0, then 0.
I'll just have someone type something.
They won't. They would have typed something by
Like the
now if they
actual
were.
word something.
Insult my bald head. You know you want to. Awkward silence is going too far. Anyway,
Okay.
getting back to it. So,
Back to what?
were you paying attention?
I get distracted with your bald head.
The concept is coming up with some kind of content for players to shoot for in between wars, or like your personal progression and regiment progression in Foxhole that can carry over between wars. Cosmetics come to mind, of course. That might be kind of fun. Now, right now they have a very nice modding scene, which shows that they could add fun cosmetics and whatnot. Now, I know we get into dangerous territory. Now, personally, I don't. When done right, like say how Helldivers 2 or Deep Rock Galactic handled their in-game cosmetic shops, I'd be fine. Give the devs some more money. Maybe they'd actually be able to garage. Like, I mean, maybe they'd be able to hire some more devs to help them get Anvil Empires out, within 10 years. Not like Anvil Empire.
It's 2025 now.
Mm-hmm.
This summer, in a few months.
That's right. Airborne's coming out.
Yeah.
Nothing. So, it's funny with these streams. Sometimes I feel like I bore people to tears. Oh, well. But I'm going to continue anyway because I don't care.
You have a beard. It's fine.
The big thing is there's no attachments to unlock for something. If anything tangible is hard to do, because if you have a lot of these clans have some very dedicated people, and if you let them say build up resources that they can throw into the next war, you're going to have this issue that very soon all of the big clans are going to have towering amount, just ample amount of gear stockpiled, ready to go. Now, personally, this might not be the worst of things. It would change the game a lot. Don't get me wrong.
See the cat.
But here's my thinking. Once a regiment... I don't know if it should be resource gathering, or they've done enough destruction, or something that they can do within enough wars to get enough, say, outside currency, a currency they can earn. Maybe each player can earn a bit of the currency and they can put towards a regiment pool. Have a clan fortress, a regiment fort, if you will, a stronghold. I got this idea playing a little bit on the islands a lot more, because people usually regiments like claim islands. It's really funny, and it's like their island now. There, like Scum has this thing about which island is it? It's not Fisherman's Row. In fact, they kind of hate Fisherman's Row. It's hilarious. No, not the thing. Yes, Blue Paradise and the Fingers. Oh, which one was it? It was around
The other side.
Estates. It was around the Estates, El Camino Estates, not that one, but the island next to it. Whatever. It's the island where they made their first clan moments, right? So give regiments this ability to, through playing in multiple wars and working with it, buy their own island. Now, it wouldn't be in the world map. Okay. The idea would be it'd be a separate instanced
Devil's
area.
Landing.
No, it'd be.
Westgate.
This is not. No, stop.
Kingsgate.
Just stop. The island itself, you would have to zoom in farther than that. No, that's not how it works. You don't know how to use this map. There you go. You're cute. So, hear me out, right?
Devil's Landing.
I will smack you. Yeah, like that one. No.
Fort Embrick. No.
No. It doesn't matter. We don't need to do this. Is not the point.
Camino State.
No, the island next to it. The other big island in that one.
This big
You
one.
still don't know how to work that map. It's
Isles of Euros. Verge Wing. No.
Stop. You're killing me. So
Base Sakita.
I'm going to stop being distracted by your crap. So
Wayne, really.
the idea being
No,
it's a
South
space
Dakota State.
that they can decorate, they can call their own, they can spawn into in between wars and during wars to set up social events or just get ready to all spawn in together into a given location. My thinking is you could set it that instead of spawning into the home island when you log on, you log into your regimental base. So maybe when you click join, you click the button to log in, it'll give you an option to say go to home islands or go to a regimental base. And you can click the regiment base and you go there instead. And it's your regiment's own personal space that you've created stuff for. And maybe maybe they can even put some resource nodes on there, and if you collect it, you can build stuff, little Minecrafting. Really?
Sorry. I tried to tone it down.
Failure. And
I'm saying
through
over your face.
through currency that they can gain through playing the game and doing well, maybe earning some achievements or something while fighting in wars, they can buy more cosmetics that they can put up, banners, statues, something that they can customize on their island and make their island their own. Make it so far that they can get a little more creative with it. Dangerous, because I know dicks are going to go everywhere. I know you people. I know it's going to be weird, but that's okay. As much as can be allowed without losing that teen rating or whatever it is. And this, I think, would be a lot of fun. Now, you could just keep it like that. And then maybe have the ability to invite people over to your regiment clan space. Maybe even like the allies of your regiment if you wanted, or even the other faction, whatnot. Within the lore, the idea of it being an island would be it's located off of the continent that we're all fighting on, but off in an archipelago somewhere. You get the point? Like a colony called the colonies. Yes, Doggo, you want to join in? Call it a colony. You could even do that. Like you give a regiment could buy its own colony, which is just turns into an island with a fortress. Now, personally, okay, hear me out. I would. What is this? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you? You're so distracting. I've already bored and scared like 10 people away. Why do you smell weird?
Because I had a dog in my lap.
That was dash cutting of you. But if we wanted to make it really crazy, right? We could have in the resistance phase, rather than just people fighting over that mini map. Instead, you could have, for whatever regiments want to join in on it, like you could opt in or not, regiment wars between their between their strongholds. So you would instance in both strongholds within like a hexes. So the idea being Maybe you challenge another
Unless you
regiment.
got that jacket while you get some elbow room.
No, because it's cold. I have to keep it cold in here to keep my children. They don't want to fall asleep unless it's like 65, 64 degrees for them. Now,
I mean,
that's not so cold
they run
until you have
around-
the air conditioner
They
blowing
like
on you.
running around in the freezer section at Sam's Club.
You've trained them
Run
well.
in the freezers and go in the circle, laughing and giggling and whatever.
You laugh and giggle. Whatever.
Have you chased me to the freezer? yet?
Oh, okay. What, you brought it up and then you instantly get
I was
embarrassed?
talking about the kids.
I'm going to chase you into the freezer next time we're at Sam's Club.
I know exactly what that means.
Anyway, now that my wife has created strange fan fiction, we
There's a lot of eggs in there.
this would make the in-between wars mean something more than just that time that you go in if you're really desperate, but it doesn't really mean anything, right? You can make something mean something. Like you have beef with another faction, right? Your colony can declare war on another colony, and if they agree, in this case, I think they'd have to agree to it, and then what could happen is you could instance it where there's only 2 hexes, right? And both colonies are right next to each other, and their hexes are now next to each other, and you can take ships over to attack each other. The only issue is, of course, that would give the Navy regiments who really fight Navy a lot a big advantage because that's what they do all the time. So maybe to shake things up, you could have land wars every now and then where there are 2 hexes next to each other, but they're not water. Like there's like a peninsula fight. Shake things up. A good time. Yeah. And you say, well, why would you want to do that? Well, one move would be because it's fun and it's hilarious to go to some regiment's personal clan base and beat them on home turf and then, I don't know, spray paint dicks all over their flags. I'd probably do that. But I would also argue for a few ideas. One, maybe you get a bunch of currency that way for buying more cosmetics for your island, your little colony, your regiment's colony. Yeah? Yeah. Then maybe personal cosmetics on your little characters. Now, I know people say, oh, we don't want it to look like Call of Duty. It doesn't have to look like Call of Duty. It could be fun stuff without breaking the immersion. Yeah? Maybe.
You don't want a keychain on your gun?
Well, you're not close enough to see it anyway,
Yeah.
so it'd be a big keychain to see from up above. Dangling in the wind. 2 balls. Ding, ding.
That'd be blue.
They were warden, apparently. They would be blue. But then they're green if they are colonial, which probably means they need a hospital.
Okay. It's winter time.
This is such a strange stream we're having.
Started
People
this.
keep popping in
You
and leaving.
started
It's,
this.
they see this bald head and go, what is this weirdo even talking about? I don't know.
I mean, we were talking about landscapes right before the stream. You're still on that topic somehow.
Yeah, but this, I think we could, right, hear me out.
Not bring dicks into this?
Too late. We could have an extra thing where you could produce in the off game resources, it takes and stuff on these islands. But you had to spend currency to bring them into the real war. And of course, they can be knocked out, like shipping wise, they're
You
being
just
shipped
bribe
in.
people?
Well, maybe that's the concept. You're bribing it in. I don't know. The idea is you're paying some sort of fee to bring the tanks you've built on your island or whatever vehicles
Sounds
or
like
resources.
taxation. That's
Sure.
fraud.
Well, if you just let them bring them in, then whatever factions have worked the hardest between wars are going to just win every single war. Then again, that might be a way to get people to play the game constantly instead of just during wartime. The issue is we don't want that to snowball so much that new players are like, what is going on? Why does the faction...
I mean, the game's already complex as is.
Yeah, I know. Come on! The point is, if you had that, right, the developers could then limit it by either raising the prices so you can't bring as much, or even have wars where you just turn it off altogether, saying, I don't know, some in-game event blocks it and they can't bring any more in. Or even...
Did people vote on it? And they settle it?
Which would be interesting.
Before the war?
No.
No.
The dev man must stay dictator in this way. It's very. I actually agree with that.
I agree with that.
Yeah,
Never
because
mind.
again, in that situation, you would just have the big clans rocking the most votes anyway, so it wouldn't really be much of a point. The issue, right, is you don't want things snowballing to the point that no new players can have a chance, and it just turns into a giant logistics fight before the real fight starts. So limiting it, maybe limiting the resources that are like on these islands, maybe unlike the scrap fields and other and other resource nodes, maybe they're limited a lot more. Like they don't generate half as much as other places, but you can say, ooh, this could be interesting. What if, say,
You
and
think
this-
it's too cold for him now?
what was he called?
He had a blanket like a babushka.
It's probably just mad that everyone fell asleep on him in there.
He can't jump on them.
Nope.
Nobody's reacting to me jumping on them.
So,
He just looked at me like,
So again, that might be going too far, but I think there'd be a way to play it where not only do these island regiment bases have the fun cosmetics ideas, but you could raid other regiment bases for a chance of stealing their goods, and you can use these goods in the main wars with a hefty fee, with maybe resources you can only gain in war. So you have to earn a certain amount. You have to play as... There we go. You have to... It was on a roll. You have to... Everyone has a zero currency when the war starts, right?
oh, okay.
And as you build more currency, doing actions in game, taking bases, maybe defending bases, building stuff, then you gain,
the building.
and then you can buy the shipping, if you will, for these extra vehicles that you have built up. And in this way, you could bring maybe a vehicle that's not been teched yet, but you've built on your island, thereby rewarding the regiments that have played the most, you're on the front lines a lot, you're doing a lot of logistics work. Boom, you can bring in some of the gear that hasn't been teched yet, or you've had for a while, or maybe you've been able to do some upgrades for. I'd be okay.
You kind of get it ahead of...
Basically just rewarding lots of play.
Okay.
And but it's not like you instantly have it either. It has to be shipped in. And that means it's vulnerable to piracy. So it comes in the water hexes because it has to come from your colonial island, right? So if your regiment's not careful, your upgrades could be just stolen by a random guy on the high seas. Now, if they made it really interesting, they could have like a convoy system where... See, I don't know. They wouldn't want to do this because that's a little too much AI. They don't want too much AI. But wouldn't it be kind of cool if a group of ships run by the AI are just slowly sailing to a port and they have to be defended? That's probably too much, right? Maybe instead there's like a...
Now you're just trying to add different types of missions here for extra rewards.
Yes!
I see how you're going.
I want to give players a reason to play in between wars that's more than just practice. You see? If these little regiment fights can be to sabotage the other regiments before the next war, or take those tanks and stuff that they've upgraded and stuff for yourself, or to defend that, or just to get some more of that sweet, sweet loot for making more cosmetic stuffs on your own island. That'd be a lot of fun. A lot of fun to watch.
Mhm.
And it would make that in between resistance phase much more interesting. Yeah. And again, they can expand it as far as they want. They can bring it down. Having that like whole currency, like you play a bunch and your regiment can earn enough money to bring some of its big assets in while it's also trying to build assets. Now, a little crazy idea here too. Would you be able to go the other way? And that's probably going too far. But it would be kind of cool if you could strategically, at the end of a war, gather some of those big tanks you've made or ships or something, and then send them to your colonial island. And then it can be used in the colonial wars. Now, maybe to be fair, in that sense, you wouldn't be able to bring those back. Like it has to stay in the colonies, if that makes any sense. That could be fun. It also could break the game. So it's something that would have to be tested a lot. But I think, yeah, everyone would get a kick out of being able to name their own colony, have permanent facilities that don't break down as long as they maintain them, right?
Mhm.
And being able to bring in some excess resources if they're able to strategically get into the right spot, right? They can still be stolen, or even stealing somebody's regimental resources coming in. Yeah. Yeah, that's my proposal for at least a start of giving regiments, and they could even have individual fields for this. Like, obviously, you wouldn't be able to own your own island, but wouldn't it be kind of interesting if you had an instance HQ you could go into as an individual player and decorate? So rather than a regiment, you have like a little fort. Obviously, you wouldn't be able to produce stuff like a whole colony would be able to, but wouldn't it be kind of fun to have like your own little instance bunker that you could decorate? And then, right, to make it really fun, you could bring that base into whatever. If you join a regiment, you could put your base, like a entrance to your instanced base in the instance colony. So it's like your base is in your regiment space. Huh? It's like your personal little area within an area. Or you just keep your little personal area if you're a little solo person like me.
Well, it's kind of like what you're doing, but
Yeah.
remember that the last time we played, we had that base right there, and we kind of was basically technically
Yeah.
nobody real close
People-
enough. We're the closest ones there.
People want that feeling of this is mine, right?
I mean, people hog the fields all the time. The coal mines, the coal field, the compost.
So I argue, let them have it. And you could build up
the
through.
scrap stuff is crazy how people get very.
Well, yeah, I mean, whoever gets to make the next tank or battleship is whoever gets the most of those. So
Component fields, and it's like I was looking for something at one point, and I was shocked seeing all these fences and stuff. I'm like, what is this?
what's what?
Is that legal?
Did something very illegal with that fence. So I like that too. If making that individual bunker base thing that you can purchase through gaining enough resources by playing the game, right, could be a motivation to get to for players, like something not quite in game, maybe mid game for an individual player to have their own personal base of some kind, maybe a little mini bunker base. It'd be kind of cool too if it was like a truck, like a mini like truck. Like it was like a almost like a mobile home or a boat. It's like your mini little HQ.
and armor.
Now obviously it doesn't go anywhere. It's its own little instance. And
Do you spawn in and out? It's spawning.
that would be
You can
kind
use it
of
as a spawn point. Or it would be defeat the purpose of a unlawful home.
well. The point would be it would take the place of the home islands.
I hear you, but
What would you need it to
like
be?
you know how you spawn?
Mhm.
You can spawn in the base, you can spawn in the hospital, wherever. Spawn in a vehicle. So you got your vehicle ready.
But what would be the point since it's not going into combat? It's just instanced.
So you don't have to look for a vehicle when everyone's taking them. Okay?
Why Foxhole is about making your own vehicles.
So many people steal them. So many people use them.
Wife is still sore about how many machine gun trucks she lost. Machine
Just
gun
that,
cars.
I've had to look for to go to the scrapyard, to go to the component field, to go to the coal mine.
Amount of
You know
cranes.
how many times my train has been stolen?
That's true. We lost a lot of
Like
trains
not
that
just
war.
the cart.
4
too,
trains,
but-
maybe? There's 3 or 4 trains we went
Like
through.
4 trains.
Ooh, train car. Your own personal train car instance. That'd be kind of fun.
Like
Yeah. Ooh, yeah. That would your own personal thing, and then it can. Yes. That would be a lot of fun. So, Siegecamp, I implore you to start exploring these different ways to give people some more reason to play the game when the wars aren't started. Because there's a lot of burnout.
or if the wars go too long.
Or even if you're on the losing side, right? Big problem with the way things are, like people will lose morale and they'll stop playing and then everything just sort of collapses, which, that's part of the game. But you could, if people were gaining resources, even if they were losing, right? They have a reason to stick around, right? Hey, my faction's losing, but if I play just a bit more, I might be able to afford that upgrade to my home instance base and be able to put a statue of a dog in there. I don't know.
It's really amazing how people get very connected, not connected, whatever.
Attached.
Attached. That's
Yes,
the
we
word.
want attachment.
Just attached to the stuff they build and everything.
Yeah, I see.
'Cause
I
I get to the point where I have to remember, okay, what time of day did I build this? Oh, I gotta go make sure it's still there.
Yeah.
Or I gotta get the maintenance stuff and put it in so I don't lose it or have to rebuild.
See.
You get really attached to the stuff.
The building in that game is fun. So I want to encourage them to make part of the game that stays for them forever. They can build something and it'll stay. Even if it gets attacked, it just gets raided or something. If that makes sense. That persists between wars. And again, you add these colonies and it doesn't affect the war too much, but it can still kind of affect it a little bit.
And that's also interesting too, like when an island has been completely swept.
Wept? And then she wept.
It's
And then
swept.
Jesus wept.
No, stop. No, you know what I'm.
It's like,
You know what I mean?
like you've cleared it.
Like it's cleared, and you try and go in, and you can't take the stuff that belongs to enemies.
Oh, okay, yeah.
When it's been raided and everything, you still can't. You could go in the building, but you can't take the stuff from the inventory. Stockpile, inventory, whatever.
Well, you get a portion of it if you rebuild it, but yes, I know.
You know how much it takes to rebuild? Sometimes you don't even have the stuff with you.
It's true.
Is there a way that you can pay money into buying it instead of having to rebuild?
Buying it.
Shortcuts!
That sounds like a discussion. It's a little different than what we're talking about. That might be another discussion of game design changes in the future.
Just hit me.
Bam! Wife gets smacked. Anyway.
You know how my brain works.
It's a great
Like
brain.
that woman brain.
Yeah. Waffles.
No.
No, wait. That was the guy's brain. Your spaghetti. This doesn't look like spaghetti to you? What
It
does
looks like you're trying to knit. Knit.
The laziest knitting. So yeah, that's my proposal for a starting idea for how to create something in the Foxhole game that actually carries over without breaking the game itself and keeping it fair for everybody. And having a version for both the individual player and the large regiments that matter enough. Like maybe, you can bring as an individual player something smaller, like a kit of guns or something. Some extra logistics or something small, or you get an extra truck in the beginning if you put in the resources. But, big but, little but, mostly keep it cosmetic. That's my thinking. Though,
I've hit it so many times, there's fluid in there. Trapped.
Thank you for that little moment. I suppose I should get into the next part because I think I've said most of what there is to say about like colonial fights, regiment fights, fortress. I explained what the whole title image is about. It was what I was going for, is like regimental island fortresses. What are you doing that now for?
I'm sorry,
We're like streaming and you're like, let me pick my skin and screen. Well, I did want to touch briefly on culture war stuff.
Oh, yes.
Now, if you've watched any of my previous things, you may know that I lean a little far right, if you know what I mean. But I'm not even on that spectrum. I'm on my own spectrum, which makes me sound autistic. I'm too bald for that. Wait, are autistic people bald? I think I went into a wrong direction there.
Some might be, I don't know.
And now, oh, wow, that transition was the most awkward transition of my life. Forget smooth transitions. We're just like slamming cannonball head first into it. So, when it comes to culture wars in video games, we've all seen now the extreme negative effects when you allow, when you don't try to defend your space. There's bad actors out there who will invade your space, take it over, kick you out, and follow you wherever you go. You like video games, they come in, they ruin the video game space. Maybe you jump to board games, well, they'll follow you there. It doesn't matter where you go. Doesn't matter what you do. It's a culture war. And as long as some part of the culture isn't in lockstep, they're going to come after it. Now, you may argue, maybe this is just instance in our current culture. No, I would argue it's been around for forever. The difference is with the internet, it's much more encompassing, right? With everything connected the way it is, it's more obvious and in your face. Now, this stuff was still here before the internet, and this is kind of where I'm trying to get our minds into it. So, the importance of fighting the culture war when it comes to video games. If you want to get to the point where, if you want to stop it before it gets to the point that all your big franchises you like are being consumed by nonsense or whatever message of the day, whatever weakening, whatever attack the enemies of your culture want to use against you, you have to start early. You catch my meaning? You need to catch it before it's getting to the point where they're making all the women act like men and have weird transvestite demon things saying, well, I'm non-binary. And you're like, I'm sorry, I thought this was a fantasy RPG. Why are we talking about this? I think the meme I saw online about Dragon Age, whatever it is, right? With Peter Griffin going, who the fuck starts a conversation like that? I just sat down. Encompasses it perfectly. Like, if you want to stop it before it gets to that point, you need to go back to when it was first starting and it was less obvious in your face. Now, you may wonder, why am I mixing these two topics together with the Foxhole business and whatnot? Well, because if you want to be a guy who concentrates just on making interesting, cool games, you have to understand this cultural stuff around it. It's going to be there no matter what you do. And it's a mantra I like to point out to people, all right? The other side says it all the time. The SJWs, the freaks and whatnot say everything is political. And though they're wrong about so much, they are right. Everything is political. Where you draw the line on what is just you making a cool game is a political statement. Remember, when you're dealing with things have gotten so bad that you can't declare that there's something can be female or male. Like even Star Citizen, I can't have a male character. It goes body type. Does it have a dick? Does it not? And even then, who knows? It's one of these obnoxious things. I remember when I first bought Star Citizen, when we were in our character creation screen, it was male or female. Crazy thought. Right? When things so fundamentally about truth are on the line, then absolutely everything is political. And where you draw the line of, oh, yeah, I'm just making a cool video game, is going to say everything. So in the case of Foxhole, there's actually a lot of lore around the whole situation. We laugh, we mock, we say manic in the trenches as we die and make a lot of routines and whatnot. The lore around it, the feel of the game is very much this feel of things breaking down, endless war destroying and endlessly. You could point is war bad, useless, stupid war bad. Factions are destroying themselves endlessly bad, right? The concept of almost like that World War I feel of so much loss of life for so little gain, kind of thing, for even no gain, right? That's the malaise around Foxhole, the political statement that's being made. Now, why that was distracting. It was.
I got the fluid out.
I see that. Well done.
Medic.
Medic. I'm not distracted. Now, funny enough, when it comes to the Foxhole stuff, a lot of the culture war stuff, and it has less to do with the game itself. It's hard to turn what is a large MMO just faction, but no factions evil. Kind of sorry, that's the right word. Almost essay on why evil, large, productive wars destroy nations and people excessively. Blah blah blah. Right. Even just how the game mechanics kind of lean to this, like how all these old bases and technology of the past is more powerful than what they already have. How we get all this stuff from scrap fields, right? The idea that there's not enough resources to go around, the wars never end. Just giving you this feel of civilization and collapse because of the ceaseless fighting, right? Very World War I-esque. Ironically, the culture war stuff has actually come in more with the player base itself, right? There's not much argument that people don't really argue and say, oh, all of the destruction with no gain is good, right? It's not. You'd have to get into a really weird place where someone would be arguing the opposite. What it is you have the complete lack of interest of encouraging wholesome behavior amongst the player base. Now, I don't think this is a dev problem. I don't know what the problem is. I don't know why there's just so many weirdos in so much of the Foxhole stuff. Like the amount of in your face LGBT gay crap, just if you were just trying to I remember I was just trying to join Regiments, and it's just in your face, and they're everywhere, and I don't know why. It's why is this? It's just a simple war game. Why is there all these furry talk and femboy talk and then all this? I mean, some of that's just funny. Don't get me wrong. The stereotypes that got slapped on both factions, I find is hilarious. The colonials are furries and the wardens are femboys. It's a hilarious jargon between two very predominant male groups mocking each other, right? It's good fun. It's it's like sports teams calling the Lakers gay or something. I mean, they wear a lot. But then you get into these regiments, and there's just these obvious in your face really weird stuff. Just even just the like their avatar characters and whatnot. Now, I'm not
Just their names
saying,
alone, their name title.
and it seems weird that this sort of person would be so interested in a war game of this magnitude and complexity. I don't know what it is,
Normally they're not.
and I don't know even what should be done about that. I don't think that's really a culture war thing that we can talk about. But I got kind of caught in the weeds, a little bit of the weeds. I should get back into the reason. Well, one could argue right there the fact that we have to deal with that in a game. Why am I having to deal with that in a war game? Why me, middle-aged? What counts as middle-aged? I feel middle-aged. Is it like 40 you're technically middle-aged? Because then I'm not middle-aged yet.
38.
I'm not that old yet. Calm down.
5
I
years.
get. I'm getting close to middle age. We'll go with close to middle age. We're getting up there. Father of 4 can't play a war game without lesbian crap everywhere. It's not as ham-fisted as say Call of Duty, for example, right?
Oh gosh, that was.
I remember when they were forcing that everywhere. You couldn't just play around a Call of Duty without it in your face.
Was that the BLM stuff? That was.
Yeah, I remember that's when I stopped playing for a while there.
That's when we.
Yeah. I feel like I almost need to start over because I got all convoluted. But if the importance of it, if you don't fight the culture war and you just try to make good video games, eventually some faction or another is going to make the norms to the point where that's not good enough. Or what is just a good video game also has to include all this other crap. Right? Concord is a great example of them trying to shift everything towards this element where it can't just be a good game. It also has to have all this other crap. But it's so much more fundamental. Like in movies, you can point it out in the Alien movie. I've brought this up before. Alien, it's a great movie. Plot-wise, construction-wise. However, the propaganda in it is strongly designed to make women afraid of childbirth. It makes childbirth into the horror element. Feminist, and then you have the feminist icon who doesn't want to get raped and get pregnant. Basically, that's the hero of the whole story. The one Ripley chick, right? Who fights in the mech and whatnot. And again, it's these little elements throughout culture and stories and concepts that filter in and color everything from that very beginning stage. It's funny looking at the beginnings of this. It's stuff like that Ripley saga, turning babies into aliens in people's minds. And it's funny. So much of this is like in the back of people's brains, the general culture around them.
Actually, your sister said it worked for her
Yeah,
that.
I know. It's in the back of her mind. That's where the
idea came from. Yeah.
We're such emotional creatures sometimes that it's just going to come out like that. So that's why the first steps are so subtle and why you have to lash out on them right off the bat. They've really
been able to, with that alone, getting their psyche like that.
Yeah. And it always leads to the situation where you get a Concord, where you get a crappy game that nobody likes because it was all about the message and it was all about this, all about that. And it's vapid and there's no truth in it anymore, right? You get how did the gaming industry go from making something like Halo to that monstrosity? And Halo is something I want to talk about too. Halo actually part of the problem. Now a lot of people might be like, "What do you mean Halo?" Well, if you look at the lore, it's another one of these atheist pieces, like Warhammer, where religion is the problem.
I mean, think about it. They literally use the word covenant.
Yeah, covenant, the covenant of bad, right? And religion is basically fake and caused all the problems in the universe. Naturally, right? That was basically the story of Halo in that sense. Worse than that, in the Halo universe, if you get into the extended lore, the zombies are literally God. It's Flood. The flood is essentially God was killed by the forerunners of the god race that made everybody else, was killed by the forerunners, and then they remade themselves into this virus flood form thing to consume all life as like a revenge against their creation. It literally, God is a monster, right?
That's the version.
Right, and the worship of the lesser beings, and again, you actually have that too, right? With a lot of mythologies, you have this constant concept that the lesser gods were able to destroy the chaotic, overbearing god. In Greek mythology, it's Kronos who gets killed by his sons, Zeus, Poseidon, and Hades, right? And it's you should join my Sunday school lessons to understand what that's all about. Segue. There should be one on Sunday if I can get writing tomorrow. And yeah, I will. Trust me, it's in the back of my mind. Moving has made her forget.
Get 2 more before you.
Yeah, luckily, I have a lesson written out. It just needs to be
So you only have
edited.
to write one more?
I just need to edit it.
And then you have one more before we move.
Yes. Well, I should probably get more ahead than that.
I think I checked my eye with
So,
eyeliner.
but a brief understanding, a little bit of theology and all the rest. To understand. Yes, wife, we're about to leave. It's 2 weeks. To understand why that is a big deal. The Watcher entity basically say is Watchers, sons of God, entities from heaven that are rebelling against the one true God. So naturally, they come up with all these. Oh,
Text something.
I didn't touch it. It says connection is unstable. Please wait. We tried
No, like you verbally.
Yeah, we tickled something. Okay, we're back. I don't know what you guys heard. I don't know what you heard, but we'll repeat it real quick. So, in the Christian religion, when you get into, you take out all the modern churching crap, foreign religions' gods exist. They're demons, they're watchers, they're fallen sons of God, fallen angels masquerading as gods. And so they always create these stories about how they killed the one god, their father, right? Like in the Greek story.
Okay.
The Anunnaki and stuff have similar stories like that, the ancient Babylonian stuff. There's always the story about them killing the big bad god. It's always this like gamma story in the back of their mind. So again, we have this in Halo, where the Forerunners not only destroy their gods who made them, right, and then that becomes the main villain, if you could argue, even worse than the Covenant because they'll consume everything, and then the Forerunners not only that, but try to destroy. What did I spit on you? Anyway, this is how you attract a woman. Spit it. Insane. Anyway, see, it works. I may have to clarify. I had to do more than spit on her.
Shut up. Now I can't spit on each other.
You know, taken out of context, that's very confusing. I'm dying. Anyway, we'll move on.
I kind of scoop eyeliner and stuff in my eye.
But that's more of the advanced kind of in the background stuff you wouldn't know about. Like a lot about that's positive and interesting, right? In the original Halo lore, the United Nations, you know, the UNC, right? The United Planet is actually an oppressive oligarchy empire that's conquered all of humanity essentially, and the Spartans were not made to fight the Covenant; they were made to suppress humanity. The original Spartan wasn't there to fight elites; he was there to be an overpowered soldier to kill any humans who didn't want to stay in the Union. See, that's the positive side of the Halo story that's never really explored. It's only hinted at in books and lore. You get a little bit of that, a little bit of it in Reach, and that's it.
Halo Reach.
And that's why I was excited at first for Halo 4, because it looked like they were going to go down that route, right? They had that whole scene where the the new Spartans are hunting down the old Spartans. I'm like, ooh, we're finally gonna get the revolution. Oh no, there's no more covenant to be afraid of. Why do we have to put up with all these oppressive oligarchy bastards, right? But no. Microsoft, that's a little too close to home for them, so they couldn't hack that storyline. And by the way, had the DEI try to replace the Master Chief with a crappy black replacement. Remember, that's what they were going to do with Locke. Spartan Locke was definitely supposed to be the new Master Chief. But this is why we can't ignore it, because it'll eventually come after us. And you have to fight back eventually, or you're going to be consumed. You can't just keep running. Running means eventually there's nowhere else left to run. Now, I think video games in particular have a very interesting feel in the culture. They're very young, but I feel like they attract a specific type of person. Or even...
No.
The point is, you have men...
The water dripping because of the AC.
The point is, I know for me, video games are a mixture of things that I've analyzed over the years of why I've enjoyed them. One was because, like, just me being a protector type person, but more than a protector, I am a crusader at heart. When people, for me, like I have in those certain RPG games where they're trying to give me this dilemma and it's clearly an evil person, but they're like, well, he wasn't always evil. It's kind of my mentality. The point is, my kind of person who wants evil purged has a tendency to be extradited from society. But more to the point, our society has really collapsed the male's ability to feel like they're building or they own something or they have something. I realized a lot of the games in the construction, like I wanted to build my own home, but I couldn't do it. So I did it in video games, right? I wanted to fight evil, but I wasn't allowed to. So I did it in video games, right? It's fascinating to see. There's also this aspect of just the challenge mechanic part, which I find interesting. The problem solving even when you're off. It's kind of funny. It's like, even if you're winning in real life, you want to simulate winning in a game.
It's kind of like how you're doing deliveries in real life.
And then I was
doing deliveries in Star Citizen.
Delivering of a spaceship is a little different than delivering in a crappy van. The point is, though unlike other mediums like TV and like TV shows and movies and in books to a lesser extent, the propaganda isn't as powerful in video games because you're constantly using your mind, you're doing stuff and all the rest, but it is subtly in the background. You think about how Assassin's Creed, that whole franchise, kind of threw a bunch of morals on the head. But, for example, like priests always being bad, basically, and the prostitutes being good, kind of deal. There was always that feel. I remember seeing a comic about that, and then all the comments below being like, "Yes, the way it should be." Okay. This concept that the prostitutes, the priests, and all the rest, and I suppose pretend that they're good people most of the time.
What?
I don't know. You're just funny and cute and distracting.
Just...
And you stole all my water. It was very rude.
Sorry, I stole your water.
She stole all my money. She took all my water.
I borrowed.
You borrowed my water. I don't want it back. You can have it. So, the thinking from the game dev perspective is we can't ignore it because eventually it'll destroy video games, like we saw, right? We see with the DEI agenda is being pushed into absolutely everything and how it slowly degrades video games so that no good ones can be made anyway. And this is just because when you destroy truth enough, then objective reality, like what's good and what's not good, doesn't matter. And so you're going to take the lazy route of trying to not make a good game, but push all the propaganda down your throats. So it gets to the point where game developers can't even make good games anymore because they've accepted all the lazy people are there, and not even the incapable. And so you get the modern video game crash. So that's why you can't ignore it, because eventually it'll destroy all the walls down around you. The whole temple comes down unless you keep it up and you keep the vandals at bay. Even the vandals come by like all sad and beaten and broken and like, could you just let us in? Please. You don't have enough vandals inside. You don't show reality. You don't have enough blue-haired lesbians inside. You have to represent what the world actually looks like. Which is funny. 50 years ago, there weren't any blue-haired lesbians.
I remember when I had the green hair before it was considered anything.
True. Anyway, so if you want good video games, you need to actually fight the culture war. Otherwise, the lazy, the untalented consume and eventually take over because they can use the untruth to their advantage, the concentration of untruth. So truth and meritocracy can play hand in hand. If you take out truth, objective reality, then you will lose meritocracy, because what is merit? What is objectively good? If you destroy the concept of what that truth is, what that actual good thing is, then anything can be declared good, even when it's not. And why does the untalented, the lazy, and the excessively prideful enjoy that world? Well, they don't have to actually get good enough to make a good video game, do they? They just have to put the right stuff in it and declare that it's good. Why is postmodern art so lauded amongst freaks? Well, because they don't actually have to be good artists. They could just throw a toilet in a room and sell it for $1 billion.
A toilet with markers that your kids drew.
One entertaining joke I actually heard was a guy was given like something like $300 to $500,000 to make a painting, and he gave them a blank and like took the money and ran, and he left a canvas, and the title was "Take the money and run." That's funny, but it's not a painting.
This is an empty canvas.
And it was like, oh, but it's the art. No, it's called "You're a Moron." Yes, and it's not even that. Right.
The art is scamming.
Right, like that's what I'm getting at here.
Yeah.
That's why they take over. I mean, there's more involved, but the untalented, the people who want to be seen as talented but not actually put the effort in to get the work and all the rest. All those females who want all the power and all the control, but don't want to have to put any work in or actually be good at their jobs. Right? They want a community, not a company. Right? All those types, all those males who want to be the best, even though they're objectively not the best. This is when truth is destroyed in the culture war, when it's sacrificed. This allows for what we're dealing with today. Big companies, all these fat paychecks, but no one able to make a decent video game. Like it's more than just them putting the crap in. They physically can't make good video games anymore because they've destroyed all their talent. They've driven off all their talent.
And they're not passing that talent down.
Yeah, and
They never did.
again, they're creating a situation where all the untalented people like it this way because this is how they get jobs and money and all the accolades. So, either you fight the culture war or all your art will be crap. Yeah. This has been your Grizzly essay.
Ending.
What a Yeah. I thought about giving
stretch.
You just want to play Mr. Fantastic and Rivals, don't you? Now that was a stretch. Yeah. Woo! I feel like this has been a more plotting, awkward, jumping around Grizzly stream. I apologize for that. I've gone for a really stressful day, but
Don't say.
I think I still got the point across. You got to fight the culture war, because if you let them take over truth and destroy it, then they're going to create the truth that most suits them. And if they're untalented, then
that phrase, whatever your truth says.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And again, I'll repeat, this leads to the untalented, the unskilled, and the lazy becoming dominant because they can destroy the very concept of what a good thing is. Right? We can objectively say this is what a good video game is. But if they can attack what that is, that concept in and of itself, and then redefine it to declare that their crap is what's better, that's a lot easier than learning how to make your own video game as good as those really difficult video games to make.
Talking trash is a lot easier than
lies are a lot easier than work. Exactly. And so truth, a society that values truth, religion, God, lends itself more towards meritocracy, because those who work hard and create something objectively good have the advantage in a situation where everyone recognizes what's objectively good and doesn't try to redefine what that is. You try to redefine, the only people who gain from redefining truth are those people who are inherently not as talented. Those people who are talented and worked hard, put the effort in, for and truth, because their stuff is like the artists of Renaissance Europe compared to, say, the crappy totem poles of the Blackfoot. You know, I don't think the Blackfoot had any totem poles. You get my point. You see those little poop creatures on a pole? They compare that to the Michelangelo statue? There's no comparison. And it is objectively which one is better, which culture put more effort into making better things. So, modern man, if you want your video games to be Michelangelos and not crappy totem poles with dumpy fat women on top, concentrate on truth and fighting the culture war. Also, Siegecamp, Regiment Islands, and personal instance bases outside of the main map. Call me. No. Anyway. Call me for more ideas. That was a bad joke. So, Sunday school, we put up written lessons every Sunday, usually at 9:30 Eastern time. Then we go over it every Monday in a stream at the same time at like 10:30, 10:45 p.m. Eastern time. Saturdays, it'll probably have to wait till Sunday this week, but most Saturdays we put up a creepy episode about things like the super natural mountains and sea monster. I don't think I have a sea monster episode yet. Oh, we gotta do a sea monster episode.
Mermaids in the Arizona.
Mermaids in Arizona, maybe, or even there's an account of a ship, like an entire ship, saw like 2 whales getting eaten by sea serpents.
That's why I never go in the ocean.
These wouldn't even be a snack. If it's big enough to eat a whale, wife, you're like be like eating an ant. Do you eat any ants on purpose? Anyway, and then of course every Friday we have our video game stream where we talk about video games, video game design, some politic ones like this one. Like, subscribe, share, come back for more. Hope you guys enjoyed it, because I know I enjoyed doing it, even though you all stayed silent. Dirty bastards. I love you too. Then spit on a woman to claim her. All right, I'm gonna put this woman to bed. Thanks for coming on, guys. See you in the next one.